we've got some advice for them as far as how to support their loved one who is dealing with this sort of diagnosis and starting on this journey.
Well, I'll go first. I think one of the best pieces of advice I could give is definitely find the support groups, find the Facebook groups, because, with a disease that's diagnosed so infrequently, the odds of you finding somebody in your same city are so minimal. And yeah, we're all going to the same doctors because there aren't a lot of them. So then we run into each other. But other than that, we don't often run into each other. And that support is so important. And also, attend things like this, because I had never even seen Dr. McCannell's, my ocular oncologist, I had never seen her face clearly because my eyes are always dilated when she's in the room. And so to see her face and to see her passion for what she does and everything was so helpful. So just really take advantage of the resources that are out there. And honestly, I know that probably most of us you make sure you're watching your mental health. And so just really check that as well, because it's not just about your body, your mind's going through a lot as well.
Yeah, so I'm a firm believer of therapy. I go to therapy and it really helps to sort of sort things out and deal with what I'm dealing with, because your caregivers don't really understand what you're going through. So it just really helps to speak to someone else about it. And I mean, when I was diagnosed, I had never even heard of ocular melanoma like a lot of you. So I went on Google and I found the Facebook group, and it was really helpful for me to make the decision of where to go. They're always super supportive when I'm going to get scanned. So the Facebook group has been great for me. And, as a caregiver, it's just, you have to give people, I think, enough space and time and just take everything day by day.
So the best advice, I feel like for me, something that as a young person that had been diagnosed with cancer, I felt so out of control of my body, and I kind of hated my body for doing this to me. I felt like my eye was weak for allowing a tumor to grow, which sounds ridiculous. And then with the brain aneurysms, I just felt like my body was not mine. And I think something that really, really helped me was taking control of my wellness and my health, and treating myself better than I ever had before. I don't think as a young person, I really cared much about what I ate and exercising. I'll just get to that, when I'm older. So I felt like the path of wellness was the one thing that I had complete control over, and it has totally changed my life. I feel so happy. I feel so strong and so capable and powerful. And I don't think that I had those feelings and thoughts about my body until I started sleeping enough, eating good food, exercising. I literally used to say all the time, I'll sleep when I'm dead. I feel like that is not a good way to live your life. That, we don't know how long we have on this earth, but might as well try and live until we're 100. So I think taking really good care of myself physically has made me feel a lot better and a lot more in control of the situation. And then the other thing I would recommend that has really helped me too is challenging myself physically. That I feel like cancer physically and mentally made me feel weak and exhausted from going through surgery and all these doctor's appointments and bills and insurance and all that. And I think one thing that really made me feel strong and powerful was challenging myself in a physical way. So my husband and I love the outdoors. We love backpacking. So we did an 80-mile trek in Patagonia last winter. And it was the most incredible feeling to feel so strong and so capable in your physical body that you can climb literal mountains, and how that translates into the rest of our life, and the strength that you need to get through a cancer diagnosis or any kind of serious health issue is just so empowering and so inspiring to be able to feel that sense of strength.
Yes, absolutely. I think all of those are that mental health, the physical health and wellness, all of that is so important. And Lisa, I also appreciated you putting your 2 cents in there about what caregivers can do to support someone as they walk on this journey. I think that's great. So I'm going to go to our question box over here. Suzanne specifically had a question that she wanted to ask all of you. Do you all have a melanoma oncologist in case of metastatic disease?
I have just a regular oncologist following me, and I have a complicated situation with Southern California Kaiser, so I'm working on it.
I have 2 medical oncologists, so I'm in Maryland. So every 6 months I go to Hopkins, and then every other 6 months I go to Thomas Jefferson. So I'm followed by 2, and they talk to each other very well. They know each other very well. They're very supportive of each other. So it's nice that I am 15 minutes from Hopkins, but then if I need to, I can go 2 hours to Thomas Jefferson.
And because of the germline BAP1 mutation, I'm seeing a genetic oncologist. So they're following like every organ in my body versus I think normally a melanoma oncologist would be mostly tracking like liver and lung metastasis. So I'm just getting a couple more organs checked out.
Awesome. All right. Thank you for sharing that. And thank you, Suzanne, for asking that question in the Q&A box. I'm checking the chat again to see if there's any other new questions in there. Oh, and Suzanne also wants to know, would you like a Facebook group for 20s, 30s, and 40s specifically?
I think that it's very refreshing to be around others who have hopefully as long to go as I do on this journey. And so I think that there is a special quality to having us younger people who can understand where we're at. I mean, I love the wisdom of people who've had long professional lives and, have led them to this, point. But I do think there is something special for, us who are like going through it, and like, especially those of us, we still have kids at home, or maybe people who are planning maybe to have kids. That's definitely another concern that isn't always necessarily addressed when the average age is so much older.
Mm-hmm. I think we all have different challenges. I have 2 young boys, and I'm working full time, and they're being schooled at home virtually. So there's a lot of different challenges that come with the different ages. So I think that would be helpful. I know I'm tired a lot, and I would like to know how people, what people do to kind of get away from that exhaustion. But there are certain things as far as, luckily I have a very good resources. My in-laws are very, very helpful. My aunt is very helpful. So I do have a lot of help, but it would just be nice, what other people's resources are and how they kind of pass time between scans, because I think my biggest fear is having this at my age is, what if I'm not around for my children? And that's just something that, drives me every day.
Yeah,
I agree with all of those things. The only thing I would add is that it actually is really nice to be in the same group with people who are older, because people comment that say I'm 20 years out, and it's like mind blowing.
Yes.
Things, and it's so inspiring. Yeah, I really enjoy that.
Me too.
But yeah, different challenges. I think working full time, and like I'm looking for a job right now, and it's like trying to reduce stress in my life, and it's terrifying to answer some questions about health history and like ADA accommodations and stuff, and not being able to be on disability if something happens for a year. Like there's a lot of those specific types of challenges that I think people who are working full time at our age are facing kind of independently.
Awesome. Yeah, good point. I see that we're getting some other questions in the Q&A box, so let me head over there. John, Lori did want to point out that you should try to meet Dr. Hadid from Anjali's clinic this weekend. He's going to be around, I think, Saturday. He'll be on the platform, so definitely keep an eye out. And then I've got a question from Sean. He says, us younger folks are probably very active. If you suffered vision impairment, how did you learn to cope? I just wing it, mountain biking, skiing, yoga, etc. So you guys want to take that one?
Well, exercise was a difficult thing, and I really do wish I had been more prepared for this situation because I actually had weight loss surgery a few months before I was diagnosed, and I was working so hard on my body, and that's definitely one of the things that really took me for a loop. Was like, I'm the healthiest I've ever been in my whole life. I work out every single day. What is going on here? But when you first have surgery, everything you use your eyes picking up a can. So, the way that you exercise changes so much, but then you do have to go forward, and then things do get weird, like the little step to step up on. You're not going to make that necessarily every time right away. And, making sure that you're with people who, maybe kind of make sure you're not going to bump into others, because I hate being in public and having somebody right behind me, and I always run into them because I can't see them on that side. So there are like those types of challenges, and I wish that I had known, how much it was going to change exercise for me. But now, you just make what changes you have to make and you get going. What else is there to do?
I luckily haven't had any vision issues thus far. Luckily, the anti-VEGF injections are working. I don't have any macular edema. I think the hardest thing for me is night driving has gotten a little rough. My optometrist said it's because I have an astigmatism, but I think, it's definitely worse in this eye than it is the other eye. But luckily, so far, nothing major.
I lost my left eye through surgery, but I feel like I try not to let it change anything about, being active. I picked the tallest mountain in my town and I hiked it a week after surgery just to make sure I could still do it. I signed up for softball. My husband and I play in like a co-ed softball league. And that was something that I had stopped doing for a little while, but I signed up for it again and I got my helmet on to make sure I didn't lose my good eye. And I could still hit the ball. So I think for me, it was just like, don't stop, do the things that you always do and just find a different way to do it. My husband and I play tennis. Can't believe I can hit a little ball because I miss, if someone hands me something, I miss it all the time. I pour water all over the table all the time, but somehow I can still hit a golf ball. But I feel like, it's just not slowing down and trying to keep up those skills, I think has been really helpful. And I feel like even without an eye, that I feel like I can still do everything I could before.
Awesome. That's great. Thank you, Sean, for sharing that question. That was a great one. Suzanne had a follow-up question for you, Dinah. It sounds like, how do you do all the sports with depth perception?
I think it's just practice. My husband is very patient with me, especially playing tennis. I miss it all the time. But I think just getting out there and practicing, and I'll have days where I'm like, oh, I'm terrible at this. Like, why am I even trying? But I think I still I'm impressed. Like, wow, I can actually hit the ball. Like that surprises me. I noticed there's a book that I think has been going around on the Facebook page that's like Singular View, I think it's called. And they had a couple tips in there, like instead of looking at things straight on, I think normally your eyes work together to pinpoint a location. And if you only have one eye, looking at things straight on can be really disorienting. So playing tennis, instead of hitting the ball kind of straight on, standing to the side and kind of watching the arc of the ball was a little trick that I felt like it helped. And then they also recommend moving your eye back and forth, which it seems weird, but I think that helps give you the pinpoint location if you're just kind of shifting your head. So I feel like things like that seem like silly tips, but I think it's helped quite a bit. I still have days and moments where I miss the ball completely. I miss the cup. I spill things everywhere. I knock over all kinds of things, but 8 times out of 10, I think I do pretty good.
Awesome. So we have just a couple more questions. We do still have some time, so I'm going to ask 2 more questions, and then I know typically we do a 10-minute break between sessions, but it's kind of hard to tell who's here if you're not in the chat. So if you guys are actively in the chat and with us right now, if you could drop an emoji or a hello, tell us where you're calling in from, that'll help us get a good idea of sort of who's around, because I would love to give you guys the opportunity to talk amongst yourselves a little longer, if that's something that you think would be good to actually go around and socialize with each other. So I'm going to ask probably two more questions, and then we can do a slightly longer break so you guys can actually spend some quality time together, if that sounds good to you guys. How's that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
Great. Okay, so these are 2 kind of similar questions, but would love if each of you could share something like what you found has been, and I know we've kind of touched on it here and there, but if you could share your favorite resource so far for coping with tough days. Lisa, I know you're dealing with some fatigue and some exhaustion and that sort of thing. So something like that you found has been really helpful for you. If you each want to share something in your toolbox, that would be great.
Gosh, for me, what helps on my tough days is, I guess, like I said before, just using the support group. And then, of course, I definitely use therapy a lot, and the things I've learned in therapy, because this kind of rocks you at our age because you're still invincible. And so, I do have to take whatever thought is in my mind that's stressful and rationalize it. Is that really a true thing? Could that really happen? Is that really likely? Because you've already won a really crappy lottery, you feel like you're just going to keep winning crappy lotteries. So, just having to really center yourself and really just take a moment. Is this really going to happen? Come on.
I think having a creative outlet has really helped me. It helps me see the beauty in every day. And when I'm having a tough day, I will go out and take my camera with my kids or without them and just try to find something or take a picture a new creative way. I also got a COVID dog, which has been very helpful as well, since I can't really do anything. So we'll go for walks, and she's been very supportive, and it's been nice to have a pet at home. So and then I always used to listen to kind of sad music for some reason, and I decided that I needed to change my music, and so now I listen to more upbeat music and happy music, and sometimes taking a drive and listening to good music helps me get out of my funk too.
So I kind of interpreted coping with tough days as the anniversaries, the cancerversaries. So I find that between the surgery that I had to have for my eye and my head, I'm constantly remembering those days. And sometimes it's a positive thing that I back, look how far I've come, I've done so much in, 2.5 years or whatever, but sometimes they're really shitty days, and it just feels awful to think back to everything that had happened BC before cancer. So something that I find that has really helped me just think of the most positive people that have been in my journey and thanking them on those days. So on my first cancerversary, I went to my optometrist and my ophthalmologist office, and I brought cookies and I wrote them cards, and just told them how much they meant to me in my journey, and that they saved my life. And it really helped remind me that there's so many amazing people that I've met on this journey. I brought flowers to my pharmacist for Christmas because she's amazing. And I wanted her to know that. And I feel like doing nice things for other people obviously makes them feel nice, but it also makes you feel really good. And it's a really nice reminder that you're not alone in this journey, that you have an amazing network of people who have helped in little ways. They think they're just doing their job, But by putting a smile on your face and making you feel safe and like there's hope in a situation like this, I think it's been really helpful to look back on those days and thank other people around you.
I sent a card and cookies to my optometrist as well.
Yeah, you know, mine was actually a Target optometrist who had just graduated,
Oh,
and he was the one
wow.
who caught it. And so, yeah, like I definitely go back and see him every year. And he's in a private practice now and thank him for.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
That's great. Oh my gosh, love those ideas. So we did have a couple of other questions come in from some folks who are watching. So Lori wanted to know how your kids have been dealing with your diagnosis and your OM journey.
It's been hard for some of them. When I was diagnosed 2 years ago, my kids were 10, 14, and 18. And my 18-year-old had just graduated high school and was planning to go into the Navy. And at the time I was or Marines, but at the time I was a single mom. And I wasn't yet with my now husband. And so he actually chose not to go and stay home and drive me to my appointments. And so he really took on a lot of responsibility with it. And my appointments have been just as stressful for him. And then he's been so grateful as, you know, my husband now kind of takes over them, that he's finally now like moving away and starting to live his life. He's 20 now and he's ready to go out. And my kids still get a little worried at every scan because for a long time, you know, and I'm sure everybody goes through this, but when they scan you, they always find something, like always.
Always.
And it's like, it could be nothing, but it's something, and it's terrifying. And they worry about that too, and that does affect them. But other than that, they do, you know, as long as I'm trying to stay positive, I feel like they try to stay positive, and they aren't allowed to Google it. But that's about all. You know, my kids are older, so they're dealing with it pretty well, I think.
Well, my kids were 2 and 4 when I was diagnosed, so we don't talk about it. I think they know that mommy has cancer, and if they want to ask any questions, you know, I'll always be open with them. But it's not something that we talk about on a regular basis, or I don't make them aware when I'm going to the doctor. They just think I'm going to the doctor, so they don't know what kind of doctor I'm going to. But trying to sort of shield them from that so that they don't carry any sort of worry.
I do not have children, but I am the child of a 6-time cancer survivor. My mom is 67 and she's had a whole host of cancer starting when my sister and I were 1. So I think growing up with it, it's been hard. And I think even as an adult, she just finished chemotherapy for cholangiocarcinoma in January. And I think being a cancer survivor myself and then a caregiver to my mom, I honestly think being a caregiver is harder. It is, in one way, it's easy to know like what's happening to you and how you feel about it and feeling like you're going to be okay and you're in control of that. And I think it's really hard as a child or a caregiver of someone that you love and you support to want to take it all away. So having both of those experiences, I think it's made me more sensitive to what my mom's going through. And I would rather have it over and over and over again to take it away from her. It is, I think as a kid and as a caregiver and a spouse or whatever, like I feel for people in my circle that are going through it, that are experiencing that, because I think it's really difficult.
Yeah, great perspectives. Thank you guys so much for sharing that with everybody. And thank you, Lori, for asking. We have one other question from Robin, who wants to know what type of diet changes you've made since your diagnosis.
Well, you don't want to follow my path. Follow Diana's. I went the really depressed, eat whatever you want route, and then COVID happened, and so we kept on it. But you know, slowly reeling it back in. But I definitely think she's doing better than me in that department.
I've just made simple diet changes. I'm trying to eat more vegetables. I don't eat a lot of carbs. I do still eat red meat. I just can't think of not eating it. But other than that, I mean, just added more vegetables and less processed foods to my diet.
Yeah, same here. I would say everything in moderation. I just had Taco Bell for dinner last night. So I am not perfect at all. I've reduced the amount of alcohol I drink, not even so much by choice, but because it hurts my head, aneurysms. But I feel like that's really helped me feel healthier. I try not to eat as much meat, eating more vegetables. I signed up for like a community vegetable box, and that's been really helpful to just eat, local stuff and get kind of excited about, what's in season and what's coming. My husband and I use a meal planning service called Cook Smarts. That's made it really helpful and easy to cook at home. So yeah, not eating as much processed food. I've become a believer in kombucha. I'm obsessed with kombucha.
I love kombucha.
It makes you happy. It's like this incredible beverage. So yeah, I feel like just little things, and it's taken a lot of time, but just to make small changes. And I feel like over time, like I'm excited, and it makes me feel happy to be able to do those things for myself. But I still eat macaroni and cheese and Taco Bell, when I feel like I need it.
Yeah, I feel you there. Thank you so much, Robin, for asking that question. We did get another question from someone in the chat. Do you have any tips on finding the right support system? I know we've touched on that a little bit, but any other advice that you guys want to give on that subject?
Well, I think that, like I've mentioned a few times and like others have, definitely make sure that your group of caregivers includes your mental health caregivers. Make sure that you're following up on that. But then also, just make sure, because not a lot of people know about this cancer at all. And so when you tell them, I mean, if you tell somebody that you have a more common type of cancer, they're like, oh yeah, I've had a sister who's had that or whatever. So you have to educate them so that they can then become your support system. So really it's about educating the people who are around you, because that's your support system and they don't know anything about it, just like you didn't right before you got diagnosed.
I agree with everything that Dawn said. Therapist is really important. And I don't know if every community has this, but we have a place here called the Wellness House. And it's free for anyone that has cancer. And they offer lots of different things. They have yoga, they have Reiki, they have all kinds of different things that you can sign up for. You haven't been able to do it lately because of COVID, but I was taking full advantage of it before COVID. So, look for those types of things in your area. I'm sure there may be something useful that you could use.
I agree with all of those things. It's really nice. There's a nonprofit here called the Cancer Support Community that has a lot of the similar programs that are free for people. So I think you just have to find what works best for you. And like I found that I'm kind of shrinking my social circle and my network of people has actually been more helpful rather than having more people to explain it to or to talk about, how I'm feeling. And people have their own input, and sometimes you don't want to hear that. So I think having a small number of people that like really truly care about you and checking in with those people can be more helpful than having a lot of people that are involved in the process. But I think there's so many tools out there. The Facebook support group, a cancer, like meetup group type thing. Through the Facebook group, I found several people, I think one of which is in here, Indy, who live in the community. And it's just nice knowing that there's other people out there who are struggling with this and who are persevering through it too. So it's nice to have that group of inspirational people.
And I also wanted to add, I mean, finding cancer kind of gave me the courage to get rid of some toxic people in my life. So I think it's very important, to, especially going through this, you don't need the extra stress of toxic people. So, I mean, don't be afraid to get rid of those people, because they're not going to help you on your journey or make you feel positive about the experience that you're going through.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Awesome. That actually segues quite nicely into our another question that came in from Sean about work colleagues. He says, after my initial treatment, I felt I had to tell certain work colleagues, but I noticed changes in how people have interacted with me. Mostly good, some unexpected. What are your thoughts on sharing?
Well, I worked at the time actually at a collection agency as before I became a insurance adjuster. And so as I got diagnosed, I actually had a very just interesting situations just piled on top of each other, and accidentally HR canceled my insurance the day I got diagnosed, but 3 weeks before I got to see the oncologist. And so I couldn't make an appointment. I couldn't get scheduled for brachytherapy. So I had to come out and I had to just be like, okay, I have cancer. You guys need to fix this right now. And so I had to out myself to HR, which was frustrating. And I felt like it did. I got passed over for a promotion and things like that happen. And there's nothing I could do, and I needed the insurance because now I have cancer. And so I don't have other options. And so, I wish I had been able to keep it more private. I don't know how I would have, because I would have come back with an eye patch, just like I did, and had to explain myself. But I do wish I'd been able to keep it a little bit more private than I had to.
So I don't work in an office. I'm in outside sales. So I originally just told my direct manager and then his manager, the AVP. And then as I started to feel more comfortable, I told some of my teammates, and then I was at work a week later in the operating room with a patch over my eye. So it was kind of hard to not answer those sort of questions. And a lot of the surgeons that I work with were extremely helpful. And, everyone, has not heard of this, so they want to know more. And so, it really hasn't affected me so much. And then now that more people know at work, they've been really respectful and helpful and kind. And
so I'm normally an open book, and I will talk to anybody about everything that's going on in my life. With work, I did that, and I felt like I had a closer relationship with my coworkers about it. I don't want to say that it backfired, but I feel like being that vulnerable definitely had some repercussions, I guess. I felt like my boss kind of judged how I spent my time on disability, which really bothered me. Just making comments about, what I was doing, and it seemed like I was enjoying my time off. Just hurtful things like that, no one's enjoying time off after losing their eye. I might have had a smile on my face, but because I was, trying to make the best of it. So I feel like it's important to share. It's important that people know, but I think maybe leaving your guard up a little bit so that you're not in that room for judgment. I don't think people need to know, how you're spending your time, how you're getting through it. But I think knowing that you're experiencing it is probably important, so people can give you the space and kind of respect that you just. But maybe be careful, because I'm an overshare, and it seems like that backfired for me.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you, Sean, for that question. Okay, and then we have one that came in from Ryan. They asked, missed some of this, but do you deal with retinopathy, and how often do you get injections?
I don't deal with that.
So I get injections every 3 months. So I've probably had, 6 or 7 maybe. It seems to be helping. I actually had an injection yesterday. That's why my eye is a little small. But he looked and said that there was no macular edema. And that's really what they're looking for. And that's what the retinopathy is. So it seems to be helping me thus far. And it's ironic because my grandmother has macular degeneration and we get the same shots. But she gets hers like every 4 to 6 weeks, I think.
And I don't get injections.
Okay, perfect. All right. And then we've got time for one more question, and one that came in at the last when we were talking about support systems and talking to work colleagues and stuff, was who was the very first person you told about your diagnosis?
Unfortunately, my 18-year-old drove me to my appointment. And unfortunately for us, he had had a very recent experience losing an uncle to cancer. So it was not a good time for us. I had no idea. I mean, I was just going to get my eyes dilated. And so he drove, and that was it. And so they called him back into the room and told me in front of him, and it was not a good situation, but he was the first person who knew.
So that whole day was like a cluster for me. So I went to the optometrist because I wear glasses and contacts, and just a normal visit. And I told him I saw some flashing. From there, I went to an ophthalmologist who told me I had metastatic cancer, and like got the bye, good luck from everyone in the office. And I don't have metastatic cancer. So it was just awful for him to tell me that. And then I just remember being in the car. It hit me when I got in the car, and I was crying. And I just think I texted a bunch of people. I don't even know who I text. I think I texted my husband and my mother-in-law and a couple of my doctor friends. So it was just a bizarre day.
I had gone to an optometrist because I couldn't see out of my left eye anymore. And he said, your eyes are just dry, take these drops for a month. So I went, and I was convinced I needed glasses. So I actually ordered some glasses online. After a month, nothing had changed. So I went to a different optometrist and I went by myself. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. And he did a retina scan without dilating my eyes. And within a minute said, you have ocular melanoma. Don't Google it. And into an ophthalmologist that afternoon. So I thought I was going to go back to work, and I went back to my house, and I just kind of collapsed into my husband's arms. Like, I don't even know what this means. I had to text my boss, I'm not coming back to work today. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, I asked my husband, and I was by myself the whole time, because you just don't know what you're getting yourself into.
All right. Well, thank you guys for sharing with everybody for this session. We have about 1 minute left. So I want to just close with a fun one real quick, and then we're going to go to our break. Can you share your most reliable or most recent source of inspiration and encouragement?
And of course, I'm always going first, and I even thought about this really hard. But I thought about what is the most inspiring thing. And to be honest, I work very early in the morning. I work on Eastern time zone. So what I do to feel more inspired is I get up at 4:30 in the morning, my time to work. And so I always try to look for a positive quote every morning on Pinterest, actually, is where I usually look before I get started. And it usually makes me kind of set my day in a better mood.
Well, I have 2 young boys, like I said. So, just looking at their faces and the funny things that they learn every day, and the funny crap that comes out of their mouth. And they're just an inspiration for me. I had a really hard time having children. And I had children at a little bit of an older age. So just being around them, and they're just a joy and my inspiration to keep going.
Those are such profound answers. So what I had thought about was really therapy. That I feel like therapy is the most consistent source of support and inspiration in my life. And I've been plugged into therapy since day one of being diagnosed. That I felt like it was critical, even though I was going through it all at that time. I felt like I really needed that support to process. And I think, Lisa, you had touched on it's really difficult to kind of lay out everything you're feeling with a spouse or friends or family. And I think you can be more honest when you're in that kind of therapy relationship, because someone is being paid to support you, and they're not upset or hurt, by what you have to say and what you're experiencing. So I felt like that was really important. And then nature is my ultimate source of inspiration and encouragement. I just feel like when you are out in the wilderness, you're out on the beach or the trees and the forest, you just feel like such a sense of place, and you are so small. in comparison to everything. And it's such an incredible way to connect with the world around you and just feel like life's problems are trivial in a lot of ways. My husband and I love scuba diving, and it is so cool to just experience like a different world underwater and connect with, animals and, the world around you. I feel like that's been such a blessing to be able to relax and decompress in nature.
Amazing. Awesome. Well, thank you, ladies, so much for joining us today and for sharing your stories with everybody. It definitely looks like we've got some people in the chat who have been thanking you and sharing bits of their story as well and sharing what's resonating with them. We're about to go to a break video that's going to tell you about what's next, but I did want to remind everybody that you can connect with each other on the Socio app. I know a lot of you are in Facebook groups and that sort of thing as well, but during the conference, you can definitely make sure to sort of check in and see who attended different sessions and that sort of thing. It's really great to sort of stay connected and keep those conversations going as well. And we will have a break, so you guys are welcome to hop into tables, double click around and talk amongst yourselves while we do that. But thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, and we're gonna take you guys off of presenter mode and put a video up. So give us just a second to make that transition. Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.